What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving weekend. In this video, we're going to be going over my Week 13 Waiver Wire Report. You guys can find the link in the description of the video, and then I'm probably going to post it in the comments. So if you want to check it out, there it is. And let's hop right into a screen share here. This is all on thefantasyfellowship.com. Let me just do a little zoom in here. And of course, we're going to start with the injuries to monitor. Luckily, there wasn't too many injuries this weekend that we have to monitor. It's more just, cleanup procedures and things like that. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he was the only quarterback that I noticed got injured. Concussion, questionable for Week 13. Travis Etienne, he left the game for a little bit, went to the locker room with a chest injury, but he was able to finish the game. But I did want to note that the backup, Dearness Johnson, did get some more attention in that game, so we'll talk about him later. Kenneth Walker, oblique, questionable. He plays Thursday. The Seahawks just played last Thursday on Thanksgiving. They get another Thursday game here against the Cowboys. I don't think he's going to play. We'll monitor his injury. You might want to play Zach Charbonnet one more time. I'm not expecting Aaron Jones to be playing in this one with his knee. He's out the Chiefs game, I would say, and there's a chance for him to play in Week 14. Maybe Week 15 is a better likely scenario for him. Devon Achane, it sounded like he was had a window to play on Black Friday, but he did not ultimately play. We're going to watch his practice reports. He's listed as questionable for Week 13. Deonta Foreman, as I record this, it's Monday night. We got about 2 hours until kickoff for the Monday Night Football game. I don't think Foreman's playing in this one. Week 14, we'll see if he can return. I do think they have their bye Week 13. Week 14, maybe Deonta Foreman returns. Jerick McKinnon, questionable with a groin. He did not play yesterday. We'll watch his practice reports leading into Week 13. Kendre Miller, the rookie running back, still not playing with an ankle injury. He'll be questionable for Week 13. The big one here, Justin Jefferson, he was not activated for Week 13 Monday Night Football. Or for Week 12 Monday Night Football. Week 13, he's on a bye. I'm expecting him to come back Week 14 and just in time for the fantasy playoffs. So hopefully he plays Week 14. Gets to knock off the rust a little bit and gets you guys ready to go for Week 15, 16, and 17 in the fantasy playoffs. Chris Olave he was cooking on Sunday, had a great game. Left with a concussion. We'll be watching his reports. I'm going to assume he's more doubtful than questionable, but we'll see about that. Amari Cooper also left the game with a rib injury. He's listed as questionable. I believe the MRI results came back fine. T. Higgins, questionable with the hamstring injury. They play Monday Night Football, so we're not going to get answers on T. Higgins until Thursday practice reports. Noah Brown, still not playing with that knee injury he suffered a couple weeks back. He's questionable. Rashid Shaheed, it sounded like he avoided anything serious. He's going to be questionable with a thigh injury all week. Demario Douglas was fielding a punt and got a concussion. It didn't really seem like it was too serious, though, so we'll watch for him. He might have a chance to play. Still haven't seen Treylon Burks since that one concussion he suffered on Thursday Night Football a while back. Kadarius Toney didn't play yesterday, questionable with an ankle leading into Week 13. And then Michael Wilson, the last receiver here on the list, shoulder injury. He hasn't played in a couple games. I'd like to see him back with Kyler Murray soon. At the tight end spot, I did read a report that Dallas Goedert's wrist injury is progressing well. I think there's a small chance he plays in Week 13, but I'm going to say probably not. I think Week 14 is a better target. Maybe it's not. It'd be nice to see him get back into the practicing fold this week, maybe a limited practice, on Thursday or Friday, but assume he's not playing in this one. Darren Waller, his IR stint is up. They have a bye Week 13. There's a chance he could return Week 14. Still not sure quite on that. They might just shut him down for the season. Zach Ertz, still not sure if he's coming back with his quadriceps injury. And then Luke Musgrave, he lacerated his kidney back in Week 11. IR could return Week 16, but I just don't think that's happening. I think he's shut down for the season. Maybe if the Packers make a run late January, maybe something like that. But otherwise, those are your major injuries that we have to be aware of. And then I haven't filled out my deeper leagues or drop list yet, but I will get that updated tonight and tomorrow for you guys. My favorite ads for the week, just real quick here: Jordan Love, Russell Wilson, Gardner Minshew at the quarterback spots. Running backs, Keaton Mitchell, A.J. Dillon, Chuba Hubbard in handcuffs. And again, I know that these guys are probably owned in most leagues. We'll take a look at some running backs that might be available for you in your deeper leagues, but I have to kind of widen at this. I don't know if it's an 8 or 10-man league for whoever's watching this. I'm assuming most people play in 10 and 12-man leagues. 12-man leagues, these guys are hard to come by. At receiver, I like Rashee Rice. He finally had a blow-up game. Jaden Reed, Demario Douglas, Josh Downs, and then that's Curtis Samuel here. At tight end, Pat Freiermuth, Isaiah Likely, Taysom Hill, and Chigo Okonkwo. Defenses that I like this week: the Falcons. They're traveling to the New York Jets. The Buccaneers are hosting the Carolina Panthers, and then the Jags, I believe, are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. So we'll look at some deeper league stuff here at the end of the video. I'll pull up my actual waiver wire, and we'll look at what I'm looking at in my deeper leagues. Moving on to quarterbacks here, I did make a list of quarterbacks that should be rostered. If any of these guys were available in your 10 or 12 man league, please scoop them up and play matchups with them. But otherwise, the guys that are widely available here, and I do under 70% rostered on ESPN. Josh Dobbs is on bye week 13, but he'd be a nice pickup if someone lets him go. We're not starting Geno Smith at Dallas. I don't think that sounds very fun at all. Russell Wilson at Houston, though. Houston's been in some pretty high scoring games. The Broncos offense is coming around. They're on a 5-game win streak. I don't hate Russell Wilson as a streamer this weekend. Maybe Baker Mayfield at Carolina. Deeper leagues, I think Superflex leagues, he's more of a decent play. But I like Jordan Love at home against Kansas City. The Packers have been playing good football for the last 3 or 4 games. They got some momentum off their big win against the Lions. And who knows? Jordan Love, he's usually good for a touchdown or 2. Matthew Stafford versus Cleveland. It's a tough game against Cleveland, but it's at home. Just threw 4 touchdowns last weekend. Kieran Williams is back. The offense could continue to put up touchdowns. Not so interested in Will Levis versus Indy, but Derek Carr maybe against Detroit. We're going to have to watch the health of Olave, Shaheed. Maybe not the best game for Derek Carr, but maybe the Lions defense if those receivers are out. Kenny Pickett maybe against Arizona. Of course, the talk was that the Steelers scored the most amount of yards that they have in a long time here with the new offensive coordinator. Bryce Young not against Tampa Bay. Gardner Minshew, though, at Tennessee. He ran for a touchdown last weekend. He could have had another opportunity or 2 to throw a touchdown. I think he's good for 1 or 2 TDs against Tennessee. They do allow quarterback and wide receiver points. And then all these other guys here are just more super flex ads. If you guys play in those leagues, check them out and see if they're available. I think Desmond Ritter's interesting, but not against the Jets. And then, deep stashes at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers still rumored to return week 16. Taylor Heineke just a backup in case Ritter goes down. Zach Wilson could get put back into the starting lineup if Tim Boyle does what he did again last weekend. Maybe we see Jimmy Garoppolo one more time this year. Maybe we see Ryan Tannehill. Maybe Tyrod Taylor. PJ Walker might start if Dorian Thompson-Robinson can't go. Bailey Zappi might start. It's a bunch of junk down here. The one that I actually like is Drew Lock. And keep an eye on Drew Lock and maybe Jacoby Brissett for Superflex leagues. Moving on to the running back spot here. At the top of the list, I kind of broken into 2 chunks here. So these guys are probably owned in most leagues here, but I do think they should be picked up if they were dropped. A.J. Dillon, for sure, and Chuba Hubbard are the highlights here. I still like Ty Chandler. I want to see how he looks tonight against the Chicago Bears. And then Antonio Gibson continues to play well as a receiving back here. So if any of those guys are available, scoop them up. They're worth stashing. But the guys that are probably more widely available down here, I'm open to picking up Deonta Foreman if he was dropped, Ezekiel Elliott, Tajay Spears. The big winner still is Keaton Mitchell. It looks like he took over as the lead back for the Ravens last night. Jerick McKinnon didn't play last week, but I'm open to picking him up for the stretch run here. And then keep an eye on Jeff Wilson, Samaje Perine, and Michael Carter. These guys are all kind of handcuff stashes, but I thought Carter looked good in the 4th quarter for the Cardinals the other day. And Jeff Wilson, as long as Devon Achane is not playing, he's the RB2. And he's also insurance, for Mostert and Achane if you need help there. And then Perine continues to be used in the Broncos offense quite well. And then some deeper stash handcuffs here for you guys. These guys are just bottom of the barrel players. Roshan Johnson could be scooped up. Jamal Williams, maybe Latavius Murray. Royce Freeman's still the RB2 for the Rams. But my favorites include Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Gainwell, Rico Dowdle. Come on down here to Zamir White and Dearness Johnson. Raiders season isn't really going anywhere. I don't know if they're going to shut anybody down. But if anything happens to Josh Jacobs, we do know that Zamir White's the backup. And then Dearness Johnson. He's the guy that's been looking good the last 2 or 3 games. He's hopped to Tank Bigsby as the RB2 for Jacksonville. And hey, if anything happens to ETN, he is the guy to monitor. And with the chest injury right now for ETN, I think Dearness Johnson's going to be a popular ad this week in deeper leagues. But check out the list. You guys can find some more deep stashes on the list here. At the wide receiver position, I did kind of the same thing as I did with running backs. These top guys right here, they're all widely owned in most 10 and 12-man leagues. But hey, if Rashee Rice and Josh Downs are hanging on your waiver wire, please scoop them up. Guys that you might have a chance at getting: Curtis Samuel, Rashid Shaheed, Demario Douglas, and Jaden Reed. Those would be my top wide receiver ads for this week. You can maybe scoop up Noah Brown if he was dropped, Romeo Dobbs if he was dropped, guys like that. But otherwise, the deep stashes that I like here, it's a lengthy list here, but the guys that I bolded here: Jonathan Mingo had a nice game last night. Khalil Shakir, Michael Wilson coming back from a shoulder injury. Justin Watson continues to make plays for Patrick Mahomes. And then Cedric Tillman with the Amari Cooper injury, that could open up some things for him to be the wide receiver 1 there. So check your waiver wire for some of these deeper ads. And then let's look at the tight end spot. I did make a list here. These tight ends that I'm highlighting should be owned. Otherwise, the guys that I like under 70% rostered: Taysom Hill's one of them. He continues to get a lot of, interesting usage. Logan Thomas is fine, but Pat Fryermuth would be the breadwinner here at about 42% owned on ESPN leagues. He needs to be picked up. He would be a priority. He might be one of the best. I mean, if he's available on your waiver wire, he should probably be, and you need tight end, he should probably be one of the top pickups of the week. Isaiah Likely, 8 points is fine. He can maybe build off that a little bit. I still like Kate Otten. I like Gerald Everett. Tyler Higbee, maybe. And then I did think Chico Okonkwo looked good the other day. And then maybe deep down here, Greg Dulcich coming back from his hamstring injury. And then Tucker Kraft is probably the tight end one the rest of the way for Green Bay. So if you need tight end help, there you go. I did put Brevin Jordan on the list here, the Texans tight end 2. I'm not sure what happened to Dalton Schultz, but he ate into the workload at tight end. He was out there in the fourth quarter over Dalton Schultz. So keep an eye on Brevin Jordan and Dalton Schultz's health. The defenses that I like this week, the ones that I bolded here is Jacksonville at home against Cincinnati Monday Night Football. You have the Falcons traveling to the Jets. That should be a low-scoring game. And the Buccaneers hosting the Carolina Panthers. Those would be my top available waiver wire ads. Guys that are probably already owned, though. The Cowboys is a great one. The Browns, the Dolphins, Steelers, and the Jets are kind of lock plays. But that is the majority of the waiver wire report. Again, I'm going to make a list of the deeper league ads and some of the drop list here. But I want to show you in my most important league, it's a super flex league, but this is what I'm looking at in terms of who's available. So basically anyone under 30% available. So Darrell Henderson, Michael Gallup, maybe I could add Jerick McKinnon. I'm open to maybe adding Darnell Mooney if he looks good tonight. I think Tutu Atwell is a sleeper receiver just with the health of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Maybe Atwell becomes a player down the stretch here. Otherwise, Elijah Mitchell, one of my favorite handcuffs. It gets pretty ugly quick here. Justice Hill's just a handcuff. Josh Reynolds is a good piece in a good offense. Juwan Johnson, maybe he's a tight end down the stretch that gets heated up. Leonard Fournette's out there. Zach Wilson in a super flex league, maybe stash him. There's Greg Dulcich. We talked about him. I'm open to Wan'Dale Robinson being picked up. Let's see who else. Marvin Mims, maybe. Probably not, though. Justin Watson would be a good one. I think Aiden O'Connell should be picked up too in super flex leagues. And then I'm going to see how Brandon Powell does tonight, even though Justin Jefferson's coming back soon. The next page here, Jalen Hyatt had a nice game, almost 16 points. Nothing from Donovan Peoples-Jones yet with the Lions. So I'm still waiting for him to make something of his opportunity in Detroit. Let's see what else we can find. Not looking too good here, guys. It's pretty ugly. Trevion Williams, the handcuff to Joe Mixon. Patrick Taylor is interesting. He's the backup to A.J. Dillon as long as Aaron Jones is out. DJ Dallas is going to be the backup for Charbonnet as long as Kenneth Walker's out. You also have A.T. Perry here. Might be the popular pickup because if Noah Olave or Rashid Shaheed, A.T. Perry might be of use. There's Zamir White. There's Dontavian Wicks, who I like. Maybe Nelson Aguilar. Maybe Chase Brown down the stretch here. They have nothing to lose. They might as well see what these rookies can do. And then there's Dearness Johnson. He's one of my favorite guys. I think I'm going to pick him up in a handful of leagues this week. He's had 6, 6, and 7.1 points in his last 3 games. He's had big plays in the receiving game, and he's a decent runner in between the tackles. You could maybe stash, Khalif Raymond, I thought looked good on Thursday, Thanksgiving. Jameis Winston's a stash. Greg Dortch. As long as Michael Wilson's not playing, Greg Dortch is fine. But yeah, some really deep stashes here, guys. It's not looking too pretty as we go lower on the list. But that's going to do it for me, guys. That's all I have for you. There's Cedric Tillman all the way down here. He'll be the last one that I highlight on the waiver wire for this week. So go get your ads in. We'll be doing a live show tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Central Time. Come with your waiver wire questions and anything else you guys may have for me. Enjoy the Monday Night Football game. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you on the Tuesday Night Live show. Peace.